Yara stood there, trembling, her hands clasped tightly, and then dropped the bomb everyone knew was coming but couldn't imagine. She was leaving America for good. Joy's face went pale, his mouth opening like he wanted to scream, but no words came out. The room froze. You could feel the tension crawling through the studio, thick and suffocating. Everyone else, from Lauren to Angela, sat rigid, unsure if they should react or just watch history unfold live. This wasn't reality TV drama, it felt like real life breaking in front of the cameras. Could anyone have predicted this level of chaos? Joy stumbled backward, almost knocking over a chair, and then stormed off, the studio door slamming so hard it echoed through every corner. Yara didn't flinch. Her voice stayed steady, but the room shook under the weight of her choice. She wasn't just leaving a man, she was reclaiming herself, her peace, and her life. Everyone watching could feel it. Every hidden tension, every past fight, it all came crashing down in one impossible moment. This was the kind of shock that leaves hearts racing and jaws on the floor before Yara's shocking exit. Part 3 left everyone on edge. Arguments were left hanging like storm clouds, and you could almost hear the audience collectively holding their breath. Joy and Yara's tension had been simmering for weeks, but it finally reached a boiling point backstage. Meanwhile, Jasmine and Gino's messy breakup continued to haunt the stage, leaving hearts broken and viewers scrolling through social media, rewatching every painful glance. And then there's Lauren, never one to stay quiet, always ready to poke a stick at unresolved chaos, somehow turning a whisper into fireworks. So, here we are, cameras rolling, everyone's still wearing that "I hope I survive this" look. Joy's trying to act calm, Yara's hiding nerves behind that poker face, and the rest of the cast is sizing up each other like it's a chess game. But we all know reality TV chess means someone's getting knocked over every few moves. The last episode gave us plenty to dissect. Joy's defensive energy was off the charts, practically screaming, "I'm not losing her," while Yara quietly, almost painfully, reminded us why she's been distant. Jasmine's heartbreak made social media explode, with fans arguing over who was in the wrong, and Lauren was already lining up her commentary like a coach calling plays from the sidelines. And yet, here we are, on the edge of something even bigger. The energy on the set was palpable. Every glance, every hesitation, every forced smile was loaded with potential drama. You could feel it creeping toward the inevitable explosion. Hold on to that thought, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about these relationships. Yara's words cut through the studio like a knife, clear, firm, and impossible to ignore. "I'm leaving America permanently." That sentence wasn't just a decision, it was a declaration, a rupture in the fragile bubble everyone had been tiptoeing around. The cameras captured every micro-expression, but even that couldn't fully convey the tension. Joy's face drained of color instantly, his hands freezing midair, as if trying to grasp a reality that was slipping away. You could almost hear the collective gasp of every person in the studio. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His jaw moved, lips quivering, eyes wide. For a moment, it was as if time itself stopped, leaving him suspended in disbelief. How could someone he thought he understood just decide to walk away from everything here? And yet, there she was, resolute, breathing steadily, facing him with a calmness that made the chaos around her feel even louder. Imagine watching your world unravel in real time. That's what everyone backstage was witnessing. Joy stumbled backward, almost knocking over a camera stand, before storming toward the exit. The door slammed behind him with such force it echoed through the studio, leaving Yara standing alone under the harsh lights. The rest of the cast looked like deer caught in headlights. Angela froze, her usual commentary vanished into thin air. Lauren's jaw tightened as she processed the shock, and Libby leaned forward, whispering something to Andre that went unheard but felt urgent. Every pair of eyes in the room was locked on the unfolding spectacle. From a psychological perspective, what we were seeing wasn't just drama, it was a human reaction to sudden, high-stakes stress. People often stay in relationships long past their breaking point because fear, obligation, and social pressures cloud judgment. Yara's decision was a rare instance of clarity cutting through emotional fog. For Joy, the public exposure amplified his inability to process the loss. Watching someone make a life-altering choice in front of hundreds of cameras triggers a unique blend of humiliation, grief, and helplessness. And here's the kicker. How do you recover when everyone sees your heart shatter in real time? Backstage, Joy collapsed to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Two producers rushed to him, attempting to calm him down, but even their presence couldn't stop the tidal wave of emotion. His voice cracked repeatedly, each word breaking like fragile glass. "I didn't see this coming," he shouted. "I don't understand why she would leave me like this." Meanwhile, Yara wiped a tear quietly, her expression still composed but tinged with a weight that made it clear this wasn't easy for her either. The tension on stage thickened. Could the cast even continue filming, or would this meltdown redefine the rest of the tell-all? Even as Joy tried to gather himself, Yara's statement echoed in every corner of the studio. The shock wasn't limited to him, it rippled through every member of the cast. Angela, normally loud and reactive, simply stared. Lauren's usual quips were replaced by wide-eyed silence. The collective realization hit them. The drama wasn't over, it had only just begun. Analyzing their reactions reveals something deeper. When people witness raw vulnerability, especially in public, it forces them to confront their own suppressed emotions. Joy's outburst wasn't just about losing Yara, it was about confronting feelings he may have ignored, manipulated, or justified for months. Yara's calm resolve highlighted a contrast. Staying true to yourself often comes at the cost of others' comfort, but it's necessary for personal peace. And yet, you can't help wondering, how will this decision ripple through the rest of the tell-all? The cameras didn't stop rolling, capturing every heartbeat of this human drama. Yara remained seated, adjusting her posture to reclaim control over her own narrative. She didn't need to yell, and she didn't need to explain herself further. The weight of her choice spoke volumes. Joy's absence left a vacuum, and the rest of the cast had to fill it with their reactions, theories, and whispered judgments. Tension built like a coiled spring, waiting for the next spark to set off an even bigger explosion. The psychological insight here is striking. Public vulnerability exposes not just emotions, but behavior patterns. Joy's desperation, Yara's assertiveness, and the cast's silent judgments provide a window into why people stay in toxic dynamics, why they clash over miscommunications, and why closure is sometimes painfully delayed. Observing these moments is as much about understanding human behavior as it is about enjoying reality TV drama. One thing is certain. This moment won't just be remembered for the shock, it will set the tone for every argument, confession, and emotional revelation that follows. As the studio lights dimmed briefly to pause filming, everyone absorbed the impact of Yara's declaration. The cameras captured glances, held breaths, and subtle reactions that told more than words ever could. The backstage area was chaotic, but the stage itself remained a tense, silent witness. Every person knew the tell-all had shifted. Nothing would feel the same again. Lauren leaned forward slightly, her eyes scanning the room like she was weighing every reaction before she spoke. And then she dropped it, the comment that would ignite a chain reaction no one saw coming. "Gino, she still loves you." The words weren't shouted, but they landed like a grenade in the middle of a quiet room. You could see it in the subtle shifts, the pause in Jasmine's breath, the twitch in Gino's jaw, the barely perceptible intake of air from Matt. Every single person felt the shift instantly. The room froze. Cameras zoomed in instinctively, catching every flicker of shock, betrayal, and disbelief. This wasn't just reality TV theatrics, it was raw, real tension exposed for the world to see. Have you ever witnessed someone throw a comment that silently detonates an entire room? That's what was happening here. Gino blinked rapidly, his mind racing to process what he had just heard. Could it really be true? Or was this just Lauren's interpretation, a misstep fueled by observation and impulse? Jasmine's eyes flickered with frustration and disbelief. She opened her mouth, ready to respond, but the words caught somewhere between honesty and hurt. Matt shifted in his seat, leaning subtly toward her, as if preparing to shield her from the storm brewing around them. Lauren's comment wasn't just a statement, it was an intervention, an intrusion, and a spark that threatened to reignite unresolved emotions. Third-party interference like this is a classic trigger in relational dynamics. Sometimes it's meant to clarify, sometimes to provoke, and sometimes it's purely accidental chaos. And in this case, it did all three. The tension was electric. Would Jasmine snap, or would she hold her composure under the weight of Lauren's words? The audience at home immediately went to social media, dissecting every nuance. Tweets and Reddit posts exploded. Some sided with Lauren, calling her brutally honest and fearless. Others condemned her, insisting she crossed a line into unnecessary meddling. The debate wasn't just about what she said, it was about the ethics of speaking for someone else's heart. Do you think she crossed a line or was honest? Jasmine's face tightened as she processed the statement. She hadn't anticipated this moment. Her past with Gino was complex: love, heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment all wrapped into one tangled web. Yet here was Lauren, pointing at the very core of her feelings and holding them up for everyone to judge. You could see the gears turning behind her eyes, measuring every response, every potential fallout. Matt finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Lauren, what you're doing isn't helping her, it's hurting her." The subtle firmness carried authority without aggression. He wasn't just defending Jasmine. He was demonstrating what a supportive partner looks like when someone tries to reopen old wounds. Gino's head lowered, the tension in his shoulders becoming almost visible. He hadn't expected this confrontation, and now he was caught between hope, regret, and uncertainty. Mini cliffhanger: what will Jasmine say next, and how will this shift the dynamic between Matt and Gino? Lauren doubled down, her voice unwavering. "I'm just saying what I see. I'm not judging, I'm observing." Her insistence wasn't arrogant, it was her way of justifying the ripple she had set in motion. But justification or not, the impact was undeniable. Every cast member's reaction amplified the drama, from subtle glances to stiff postures, to whispered comments that the cameras still managed to catch. The psychological undercurrent here is fascinating. When a third party comments on unresolved relationships, it can destabilize everyone involved. Past love collides with present commitments, and emotional morality, what should be said versus what is true, gets tangled. Lauren's intervention highlighted a classic tension. Do we prioritize honesty over discretion, or empathy over blunt truth? And the ripple effect extends beyond the immediate moment. Even viewers online became participants in the drama, projecting their own judgments onto the stage. Jasmine finally spoke, her voice steady but edged with frustration. "You don't know what I went through with him. You don't understand the pain, the betrayal, the loneliness." Her words weren't loud, they were deliberate, cutting through the noise with precision. She wasn't defending Gino, she was reclaiming her narrative. Every syllable reminded viewers that this wasn't just a TV moment, it was a human story of survival and self-respect. Gino's reaction was subtle, almost involuntary. His shoulders slumped slightly, his eyes darting between Jasmine and Lauren, trying to reconcile what he heard with what he felt. His hope, long buried under heartbreak, was tentatively reawakened. But so was the realization that some things could never return to what they were. Matt stayed close to Jasmine, offering a grounding presence. His calm authority contrasted sharply with the volatile energy Lauren had introduced. He wasn't just mediating, he was demonstrating healthy relational boundaries, showing viewers that true support sometimes means stepping in to shield a partner from unnecessary interference. Lauren's comment didn't just start a conversation. It set off a chain reaction that would affect every relationship on that stage, and you're about to see how it unfolds. The cameras captured the small, telling gestures, Jasmine's eyes glistening, Lauren shifting uneasily, Gino attempting to read the room, and Matt remaining quietly protective. These visual cues conveyed the drama in a way words alone couldn't. Every flicker of emotion was magnified by the studio lights, making the moment almost unbearable to watch. As the segment continued, the tension only escalated. Each attempt at dialogue seemed to push the stakes higher, with Lauren unintentionally provoking new insights into past heartbreak. Gino's reactions alternated between confusion and hope, Jasmine oscillated between frustration and empowerment, and Matt silently reinforced her strength without overpowering the scene. This episode also highlights something deeper about human behavior. Third-party commentary often triggers reflection, not just reaction. Lauren's words forced Jasmine and Gino to revisit emotions they thought they had processed. And it made viewers question their own past choices, relationships, and what it means to respect someone's emotional boundaries. Will Jasmine forgive the intrusion, or will Lauren's words permanently alter the dynamics? How far will Gino let hope creep back into his chest? The social media response mirrored the chaos in the studio. Viewers debated endlessly, posting screenshots, reaction videos, and emotional commentary. Fans dissected microexpressions and tone, asking whether Lauren had crossed a line, and whether Jasmine's response was too harsh, too subtle, or just right. Online engagement spiked, proving the power of public drama paired with personal vulnerability. Meanwhile, back on stage, subtle emotional battles continued to unfold. Jasmine's eyes softened slightly as she acknowledged Matt's support. Gino's hope shifted again, a tentative flicker overshadowed by guilt and uncertainty. Lauren, realizing the intensity of what she had triggered, attempted to reframe her comment. But the moment had already set the narrative tone for the rest of the episode. Every word Lauren said sent shockwaves across the studio, leaving viewers guessing what would happen next and who would emerge stronger from the fallout. By the end of this act, the emotional stakes had skyrocketed. The audience had witnessed raw conflict, moral ambiguity, and the unfiltered impact of speaking someone else's truth. Relationships were tested, personal boundaries were challenged, and the fallout would carry into the remaining segments, shaping interactions for the rest of the tell-all. The ripple effect Lauren created didn't just affect Jasmine, Gino, and Matt, it reached the entire cast and the viewers at home. Each reaction, every pause, and each subtle glance contributed to a layered narrative that demanded attention, sparking debates, sympathies, and emotional investment. How will Jasmine navigate her feelings, Gino's lingering hope, and Lauren's unintended disruption? And what role will Matt play as protector, confidant, and stabilizing force moving forward? Jasmine took a deep breath, and the studio seemed to hold its collective breath with her. Every eye was on her, but she wasn't looking at anyone. She was staring straight ahead, holding on to the moment she had rehearsed 1,000 times in her mind. She spoke softly, but every word carried the weight of months of pain, betrayal, and emotional exhaustion. "When I left, it wasn't just a breakup," she said, her voice trembling. "I was leaving a version of myself that I didn't even recognize anymore." Gino's shoulders slumped, and for a moment, the world around him seemed to freeze. He wasn't expecting this raw honesty. He shifted in his seat, silent, letting her words sink in. Jasmine continued, "I loved you, Gino, more than I probably should have. But loving someone doesn't mean letting yourself disappear." Her eyes flicked briefly to Matt, and there was gratitude there, subtle but undeniable. The man who stood by her through her darkest moments was sitting right there, calm, steady, a stark contrast to the chaos she had endured. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Even Lauren, who had just stirred the pot, seemed to pause, realizing the gravity of what was unfolding. "You see, love isn't about drama or constant tension," Jasmine continued. "It's about safety. It's about knowing that when you're at your lowest, the person beside you doesn't use your pain against you. Matt didn't try to fix me. He just let me be, and somehow that was everything I needed." Gino swallowed hard, his voice barely audible when he spoke. "I didn't know how much you suffered." Jasmine's lips pressed together, a mixture of sorrow and relief passing over her face. "And that's why I can't go back. Not because I don't care, but because I've learned what care should feel like. I've learned what love should feel like." The studio was silent except for the occasional shuffle of a producer or crew member adjusting a camera. Matt's hand found hers, a silent acknowledgement of support. "You didn't replace him," she said softly, almost to herself. "You saved me from myself." Her words hung in the air, piercing yet grounding. Even Angela, known for her dramatic flair, seemed subdued, recognizing a moment that was bigger than reality TV spectacle. "It's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't lived through it," Jasmine added, her voice steadying, "how much strength it takes to walk away, to forgive, and still protect yourself." Gino raised his head, blinking rapidly, processing the truth he hadn't been ready to hear. "So, you've forgiven me?" he whispered. Jasmine nodded, her eyes meeting his briefly. "I have. Forgiveness isn't about going back, it's about letting go so you can move forward. And I am moving forward." The energy in the room shifted. What had begun as another heated tell-all turned into a study of emotional resilience. Fans online would debate every nuance, every glance, every pause in the coming days. Jasmine had taken control of the narrative, showing that vulnerability wasn't weakness, and that real strength often comes wrapped in tears. Her story resonated beyond just the audience's fascination with drama. It was about growth, clarity, and survival. And as the cameras captured the final moments, the contrast between past heartbreak and present stability couldn't have been clearer. She had confronted her past, acknowledged her pain, and chosen a path defined by self-respect and love that nurtured rather than tore apart.